Welcome to Design Diary, the podcast where you get to look inside my board game design notebook as well as what's going on inside my head. We look at a new word each day from the sense of mechanics, tone, theme, or inspiration for a full game. Today's word is
Headlong, with the head foremost, without deliberation, recklessly, without pause or delay. So I have a thought for this, and I'm going to get into it in 1 second, but I do want to refer to some previous episodes, and I want to just check those numbers. Okay, here they are. So it ties into a few recent episodes. Career, which was with Rob Kramer, which was episode 94, which means heading to go it's going in a headlong manner. So you're careering forward. The second one was defer, which is episode 101, which is to pause or delay the occurrence of something. So thinking about that, head first in a headlong manner and pausing the occurrence of something, I thought about diving as a sport. And here's why. A dive is traditionally meant to end in a headlong manner. You're head first with your arms outstretched. It's technically arms first, but head first as far as your body positioning. And what makes a dive special is what happens in between leaving the diving board and landing in the water. So in defer, we talk about, I'll get to that in a second. So how do you simulate diving in a board game? And it's hard. And I thought the most important thing is that there's a time limit. There's the time when you leave the diving board and when you land. So you only have so much time in between that. Turn off my Slack messages. There's only so much time in between that. You want to make sure that at some point before you finish that you're thinking about how you're going to finish and how you're going to land in that headfirst manner safely and in a very special way to please the judges. So a time limit can be done in a dexterity-based way, which is what Rob discussed on Defer, which is physically dropping something and completing it before it hits the ground. Physically jumping off of a platform and what happens before you hit the water. Things like that. It could also be done in different ways. A timer with cards coming out of a deck. So that's like a semi-random way of determining when something's going to finish. Another way is cards being played by players, which is controllable. If you're playing the cards, it's controlled by your opponents if they're playing them. And a third way is simply just to have a timer. Click go, and then we have to do these things before it goes off. So the next part I wanted to figure out was just how do you do an actual dive in a game? And you could go back to that dexterity and, flick a meeple. There's only so many ways you can drop a meeple. See what happens. It's going to probably be the same most of the time. With the exception if you're trying to hit things, which is definitely not diving. It would get, repetitive quickly. So what I thought was, one thing is card play. I lean on card play a lot, but card play that blows your opponent's minds. And how do you achieve that? So thinking about that, if I'm taking my turn and I jump and go to do like a triple flip, how do I blow your minds as the other players? The one thing you could do is something risky, where you're taking a chance with terrible odds. You could do things where I say what I think the next card of the deck is going to be, or I say that I'm going to play 5 cards and I think that I'm going to beat this number. Things like that, are fine. It's not super thematic, but it is sort of trying to make your opponent's jaws drop. But the other thing that I thought of was just something crafty, which is the combination of cards played in a way that is essentially show-stopping. And for example, I play a couple cards down and kind of maybe it's the start of my move, so it's a twist, a flip, and an invert, whatever any of that means. I'm not I haven't followed diving to know enough about what makes it super super special. But I throw these down and you see them and it kind of tells you, what to expect. That's my specialties. But in the way that I combine them and twist them around and things like that, I don't know. I have no idea. It's a really tricky thing. Another thing that I thought of was just some sort of like resource management, and you're building up your traits and your special moves and all. And like, I'm really, really working on my double flip, and I've raised the bar of my double flip to a degree where I hit it, perfect 50% of the time. So maybe that's a die roll or some sort of, randomizer to see if you hit it. But to go for that extra flip, I'm not quite there yet. And maybe I've been working in secret, and I have some secret moves that I've been doing the same way, just a meter showing some progress I've done, but I haven't shared that with everybody. I don't know. A good question to take away from this is, how do you make your opponent's jaws drop in a game? And I think in dexterity, it's very possible. In crafty card play, it can be possible. How else? And beating the odds is possible. Other than that, I don't know. How do you pull off something that's just super great? So that's the only takeaway from this short episode. My notes kind of end right there with, something crafty, a combination of cards that is show-stopping. So I'm leaving that with you, and hope that you have some ideas for Headlong. And the one thing that I didn't get into on the definition for Headlong was without deliberation, recklessly. None of this diving is usually reckless. It's very practiced and taught over and over and over. So it's not even close to what anything I think anybody else is going to come up with. So I'd like to hear what you have as well. All right, thanks again. We'll talk to you tomorrow.